Hey everybody, Tony D with another lamp video. This one about the Democratic Party being toast. This is sort of a continuation from my last rant. As I've been saying, the Democratic Party, the worst thing that could happen to them is Joe Biden becoming president. Here's why. First, you can see all the people Biden is appointing to his cabinet and advisor positions. They're all lobbyists. They're all big corporatists, oil people, neocons, neoliberals. He can't get enough of the worst people imaginable. Now, you could look at that and say, well, Trump did the same thing. Kind of, but, one of the big complaints early on was Trump wasn't even appointing people in some positions. He just would ignore the position and not appoint anybody. And let's be honest, he didn't have a lot of people to choose from. He kind of had to pick some of those people, but he was willing to fire them at the drop of a hat. And it was kind of like evolution, he'd hire a bunch of people. And look at what he did to Scaramucci. He had him for a week and a half, and then boom, out you go. So Trump is willing to push forward the process of evolution. Give me results or get lost. And I respect that. It's not my particular style. I'm not that mean. I can't be that mean to people, but man, that's how Trump's gotten to where he is, man. You better deliver for Trump or you better start looking for another job. And I like that. I like that in a president. Biden's not going to do that. No way. Biden will appoint people, and that will be it for his entire term. He's not going to fire anybody unless they are caught up in such a horrible, horrible scandal that he's forced to do it. That he's forced to do it by pressure from the media and his other advisors. And then he'll reluctantly fire the guy and give him every bell and whistle on the way out. Not Trump. No. If you're causing him, look at Sidney Powell. Get rid of Sidney. Sidney's not on the stage anymore. No. Out. He just ushers them out. And I'm totally fine with that. So that's a big problem with the Democrats. You have this, they're the establishment. How else are you going to say it? They are the establishment now. They have been for, I'd say, about 20 years at least. Even going back, no, I guess you'd have to start with Bill Clinton. I think Bill Clinton was officially the moment where the Democrats flipped the script and became the establishment. They became the establishment. I don't know what other word for it. The man. So, and I think they shared that with the Republicans for a while, and then they overtook them. And they overtook them in part because the Republicans kind of essed the bed with Bush, and they had a revolution within their own ranks called the Tea Party. They squashed that, but they had more mini revolutions. The Tea Party revolution, the Ron Paul revolution, all these ate away at the old rhinos. And now who are they left with? They're left with Romney, Kasich, and like a handful of other, Lincoln Project dead enders who they don't really hold much power. They're just kind of hoping the globalists come back. They're kind of hoping they could be the resistance in a Biden campaign, the controlled opposition, and they're happy to do that. On the other hand, you've got AOC and the squad leading a civil war within the Democratic Party against the neolibs, who they recognize as already betraying everything. Bernie's moaning and crying, oh my God, he's trying to be the controlled opposition for the progressives, but that's wearing pretty thin, Bernie. You're old, and look, how many times are you going to cuck an election before people just go, why are we listening to this guy? Bernie's not going to get anything. He's just not. Biden will throw him a bone here and there. Same thing with the squad, but they don't need to do that. They just need to shut them up. At some point, they'll compromise them. They'll put them under the gun and say, listen, we have this trade deal with China. We need to get back. You have to vote for it. You have to vote for it, or we're going to primary you. We're going to get rid of you, and we're just going to kick you out of the party. You have to do this. They will pull out all the stops to pressure these progressives to vote for it. And then the progressives will say, well, what about our thing? What about this and that? Okay, we'll talk about that, but you have to vote for this. And, you know, AOC and the others will hold their nose and they'll vote for it. And guess what? They'll get stabbed in the back and they'll say, well, you know, we'll give you, we promised you 8, but we're really only going to give you 1 because that's all we got right now. There's not enough money. That's always their excuse. There's not enough money. There's always plenty of money for, you know, the Democrat in charge, but not the Democrats who are out of power. So that rift you're going to see get wider and wider and wider. And maybe the squad or some members of it will finally decide, F you, we are not voting for your stuff. We're going to screw you. We're just going to stop voting for everything you do. And they would be encouraged by the more radical elements of the left. Young Turks kind of count. They're the most visible, but, you know, they're online guys, BreadTube, I think they're called, and a few others, who will push and push and push for more leftist nonsense, UBI and free college and free healthcare and all that kind of stuff. Biden's going to try to like give them a compromise that everybody will hate. Obviously, the Republicans will hate it because they're trying to get rid of the whole ACA mandate. And then you're going to have the extreme left that are going to hate it because it's not going far enough. The moderates will be like, well, how much is this going to cost? And when you do the math, it's going to be terrible. So who the heck knows if Biden will even do anything about the issues. They're just going to tear themselves apart on this. And the Republicans are really good at taking advantage of that. Now that the margins in the House and in the Senate, whichever way it goes, either they won't have the Senate at all, or the margin will be so slim, they'll only need to flip one guy. And you've got a civil war in your hands within your own party. That does not bode well for Biden. The Republicans can leverage that. They just need a few votes to go their way, or a few people to go, I'm not voting. I'm not voting. I mean, the House is going to be razor thin, and the Senate's going to be either Republican or razor thin, whichever way you do it. And you're going to have a lot of angry Republicans. These guys were already pretty good at stymieing Democrats, even in years where they weren't mad. You know, they didn't like Obama. Obama frustrated them. But I didn't get the sense that they hated Obama or resented him. They just were very frustrated by his style of never returning calls or having gatekeepers or whatever. If Biden gets in, the Republicans and Harris, this will go doubly for Harris, they will resent them. They will resent them with a burning passion. Now, apparently Lindsey Graham won't, because there was footage of him fist bumping Kamala Harris on the floor of the Congress, which was very odd, and people pointed it out and was like, what's going on here? But that may be nothing. That may be Lindsey just trying to be sociable while he, you know, votes against everything she stands for. Who knows? I mean, he's a politician. I wouldn't trust Lindsey Graham. I would have been fine with him losing, you know, quite frankly, because he was one of the worst neocons ever. And I think he's only on board with Trump until Trump loses. You know, the moment Trump is out, he'll be like all about reaching across the aisle. You know, he'll be one of the Republicans. He's not quite a rhino, but he's not to be trusted in my view. So you're just going to see a lot of stuff stymied, and you're going to see Antifa still do stuff, but you won't have any coverage of it. I think Biden's going to be forced to squash them. And that's going to create a lot of resentment in their base. They're going to leave the Democrats forever. So imagine you fought on the streets of Portland, and you're an Antifa, and you reluctantly voted for Biden. And then, you know, he gets in, and they turn back on the cops in all these major cities, all these Democratic cities. And it not only, it just crushes the movement. It just crushes Antifa to the point at which you do time, you do a year in jail, your life is ruined. You think you're ever going to vote for a Democrat again? I don't think you will. Now, it doesn't mean you're going to become Republican, but I think you lost that vote. I think you're going to lose that vote. And then what? Then what? If the Democrats have lost black votes massively, Latino votes massively, the Republicans have even done well, or Trump has done well with the Jewish community, the Muslim community. You lose the progressives. I mean, really lose them. What do you got left? You got soccer moms, I guess. I mean, older people, I guess, voted for Biden because he's old and old looking, and you got cheating. But that Sidney Powell's not going away. And the cheating, the lawsuits regarding the cheating, you're going to see, regardless of who wins, you're going to see them revamp the voting system in Georgia, in Michigan, in Pennsylvania, especially Philadelphia, probably Wisconsin, Arizona, and Nevada. They will have to do something, at the very least, because what are Republicans going to do if Biden gets in? They're going to blame the voting systems in their states, and they're going to demand that they be fixed. And even though maybe some of these state guys cheated, they're going to be forced into increasing security. Something. I mean, they did it in Florida and Ohio. And look, they had no problems this time around. None. Florida was locked down, was perfect. Same thing with Ohio. They're going to increase the security in these locations. You're not going to be able to pull the same shenanigans again. Maybe you could pull a little bit of it. Maybe Dominion voting systems will stay in. I doubt it. I kind of think, regardless, Dominion voting systems will be gone. They'll be gone because Sidney Powell will continue with these lawsuits, and these state legislatures will go, well, look, we have this voting system. We've had problems with it. Maybe it's time to look at other voting systems. And we might even get, a federal law that says you cannot use, a system that was built outside the United States, in which case Dominion goes right out the window in every state. You might get that because, the optics of not passing that, if Biden's presented something like that, the optics of him vetoing that would be so awful that he'd go, well, I see nothing wrong with this. And so he rubber stamps it, and voila, Dominion's out of the whole country, and we've got a whole new voting system for some of these places. Who knows who's going to build it, though? I mean, that'll be a big question. I think Silicon Valley could easily build, and I know they're very leftist, but I think they could easily build a system with checks and balances that, people could have a paper trail. You could standardize the damn thing. People could have a paper trail. You could have some sort of ID. You could have a scanning system that works. And, it would be very sophisticated. And it would be something you could check. So that's where I think, and I think because of that, the Democrats would just keep losing. Because then cheating wouldn't be a factor anymore. And if that's been a factor, and apparently it has in their victories, what are you going to get in 2022? You're going to get a red wave. You're going to have a president, regardless of who it is, either Democrat, completely ineffectual. They're going to beat whoever's president over the head for the last 2 years, make them completely ineffectual, criticize them, not pass any of their legislation. The progressives will hate them. The Republicans will make them look bad. And then in 2024, pick your Republican. And you'll have a Republican with the Senate and the House. And you'll probably have a country that's mostly red. So if you have Biden in, if you don't have Biden in, you'll have Trump to scream at for 4 more years. And then you got a chance at 2024. You'll have another 4 years to revamp your party and actually come up with a platform that makes sense. And maybe put up somebody who's likable and nice. Somebody like Tulsi Gabbard. I don't think you will, but we'll see what happens. 2020, man. Hang on. We're in the last couple of hills. hopefully it all ends soon. It's going to be a Merry Christmas either way. So hang tight. We'll see what happens.